a great time to introduce Michael Kucinski, who's the interim land quality administrator for the Oregon DEQ. Mike has been with Oregon DEQ for over 30 years, serving in a variety of staff and management positions in water quality and land quality divisions. He has a degree in environmental science and soil science from Oregon State University. He's been in management since 2003, supporting policy and program development operations. Again, he's currently serving as the interim land quality administrator, and he's actually going to be returning to the water quality division as deputy administrator next week. So, Mike, you're going to be greatly missed. We really are glad to have you today, and just your tenure on the task force has been really insightful and a lot of good ideas and a lot of enthusiasm. So, thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Meg. I appreciate the introduction. Yes, and it was supposed to be a 6-month temporary assignment, and it turned into a year and a half. So this is my second oil spill task force annual meeting, and I'll miss all of you. So I will be handing the reins over to DEQ's new land quality administrator. Her name is Jen Parrott. She just started on Monday of this week, so it was too soon to have her at this meeting. But Kimberly Van Patten and Wes Risher, who are both on the call today, they'll be providing continuity during this transition, and they're going to introduce Jen to the rest of the Oil Spill Task Force members at the next opportunity, which I think will be at the Spring 2026 Executives and Coordinating Committee meeting. So the Emergency Response Program is one of several programs within the Land Quality Division. And we'll go to the next slide here and we'll get going on the rest of the presentation. All right, thank you. So I figured we'd start with DEQ's mission, because in June of this year, DEQ completed our strategic planning for 2025 through 2027. And part of this effort included an update to DEQ's mission statement that's shown here on the screen. Our previous mission statement was to be a leader in restoring, maintaining, and enhancing the quality of Oregon's air, land, and water. So you can see we still have environmental protection in our new mission, and we've added environmental justice, focusing on communities and being prepared for the future. Some of the goals that are in our strategic plan include improving tribal relations, prioritizing environmental justice, and proactively adapting to address emerging environmental issues. And DEQ's Emergency Response Program, it's designed to work with industry and communities and local, state, and federal agencies to prevent, prepare, and respond to spills of oil and hazardous materials. Next slide, please. So much like EPA, DEQ has a wide range of programs in our air, land, and water divisions. We regulate air quality from industry and transportation. We conduct water sampling to ensure the safety of drinking water, fish habitat, recreation, and irrigation. We regulate hazardous waste, solid waste, environmental cleanup sites, fuel storage tanks, brownfields, and recycling. In short, we handle everything from A to Z, or asbestos to zebra mussels. All right, next slide, please. So here's an org chart for DEQ's Emergency Response Program. It consists of 11 emergency response staff who work from our headquarters office in Portland. And in addition, we have 3 state on-scene coordinators who work from the regional offices. Not shown on this chart are the 12 after-hours duty officers who come from a variety of other DEQ programs. And those 12 after-hour duty officers, they triage spills during evenings, weekends, and holidays. So it's a small but mighty team at Oregon DEQ. And a key issue for our emergency response program, Wes kind of hit on it earlier this morning, is that we do not have a dedicated funding source. So there's no fuel taxes or general fund that support the program. And we rely on cost recovery from responsible parties, and in some cases, reimbursement from the Oil Liability Trust Fund. And this funding model, of course, is not sustainable. So as we're preparing for the 2027 legislative session, we're working with our partners and interested parties to establish sustainable funding for the emergency response program. It's a priority for the agency in the next long legislative session in 2027. Next slide, please. So DEQ is divided into three distinct regions. We have our eastern region shown here in green. It's the east of the Cascades, our northwest region up in the Portland metro area and over on the coast, and also our western region, which is about from our state capital of Salem down south to the California border. There are multiple offices in each region, as well as our laboratory, which is located in Hillsboro, which is a suburb of Portland. So the map doesn't show our vehicle inspection program stations. There's many of them in the Portland metro area, and there's also one in Medford. And then regarding the three state on-scene coordinators that I mentioned previously, one of them is out of our Portland office, one of them is out of our Eugene office, and the other one is out of our Bend office. Next slide, please. So taking a look back at the past couple of years, so this is from July of 2023 through June of 2025, DEQ received 2,972 spill notifications. These come through the Oregon Emergency Response System. And roughly 45% of those incidents were oil and hazardous material spills. And then the next largest group is sewage, stormwater, and then other kind of miscellaneous type spills make up the rest of the notifications, or events make up the rest of the notifications. And as you can see, most of these spills occur in the major traffic corridors. So we've got Highway 97 running north-south through the middle of the state. We have Highway 101 over on the coast, Interstate 5 running north-south from Portland through the Willamette Valley and down into southern Oregon. And then, of course, Interstate 84 running west to east from Portland over to Ontario. Next slide, please. So a couple of updates from Oregon's 2025 legislative session. The first is House Bill 2384A. This is regarding Oregon's high hazard rail program. And high hazard rail is defined as rail lines within a quarter mile of waters of the state and that have trains carrying oil in 20 or more tank cars. So this program supports contingency planning and preparedness activities along these high hazard rail lines. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. But when this law was first established, a sunset date for the fees was set to take place in 2027. And since contingency planning and preparedness activities are an ongoing work, we tried to remove the sunset altogether. But through compromise with our interested parties and partners, we were able to extend the sunset date to January 2nd of 2029. So it'll give us a little bit more time to work with those folks on a long-term plan for this program. The other bill, which is Senate Bill 795, it clarifies that an authorized agency, which does include DEQ and the Division of State Lands and a lot of other agencies, they may remove and dispose of marine debris without notice. The bill also created the offense of abandoning a vessel, which carries a maximum fine of $2,000. And then the bill also clarified liability of the owner for costs of salvage, storage, and disposal of a vessel. In Oregon, the Division of State Lands is the lead on abandoned derelict vessels, and I will talk a little bit more also about abandoned derelict vessels in a couple of slides from now. Next slide, please. All right, so this slide has a description of our geographic response plans. It also has a map showing where they are located in the state. And you'll notice these are located along major rivers, the coast, and high hazard rail lines. So an update here is the DEQ is currently completing the geographic response plan for the Deschutes River, which runs north-south through the center of the state. It's shown in yellow on this map. And DEQ's high hazard rail program has coordinated with communities, railroad companies, tribes, counties, cities, local jurisdictions to create 2 plans with nearly 80 strategies to guide first responders in the initial stages of an oil or hazardous material spill response. Public comment on these plans ended just a few days ago, ended on October 31st. And we're now reviewing those comments and anticipate finalizing the lower and upper Deschutes River geographic response plans by the end of the year. Also happening is some preliminary geographic response plan field work, which is being conducted in the northeastern part of the state around La Grande, Pendleton, and the Umatilla River. Next slide, please. There we go. Okay. So in 2023, okay, yeah, this is right. Abandoned and derelict vessels. In 2023, the Oregon legislature granted the Oregon Department of State Lands almost $19 million in one-time funding to create a program for removing abandoned and derelict vessels from Oregon's waterways. And the El Conquistador, that's the vessel that is shown here, it was the latest big vessel removal from an Oregon waterway, and that happened in August of this year. There's a couple of pictures of the vessel. It was 139 feet long and was built in 1938 as the largest arc-welded ship ever built in Canada at that time. So this vessel has posed a significant threat of oil and hazardous material releases in Oregon for some 15 years. So this was a big win for the Division of State Lands, for the Coos Bay estuary, and the local community. That's where this vessel was last was in the Coos Bay area. Okay, next slide, please. So I thought I'd share a couple of incidents of interest with you. The first is this Sunoco facility located in the Critical Energy Infrastructure Hub in Northwest Portland. A pipe failure on July 3rd of 2025 resulted in a release of approximately 500 gallons of diesel to their secondary containment. And during the investigation, crews estimated around 3,000 green tree frog tadpoles that were discovered in the oil water separator. The frogs are not an endangered species, and of course, the oil water separator is not a natural environment. So crews ended up skimming as much oil away as possible without disturbing the tadpoles. And then they just waited until the tadpoles matured into frogs, and then they hopped away on their own. And after that happened, the teams proceeded with cleanup of the oil water separator. So I am happy to report that no oil escaped from the secondary containment and no frogs were harmed during cleanup operations. All right, next slide, please. Okay, the second incident of interest is very recent. So this happened just about a week and a half ago in Central Oregon. A double tanker truck carrying diesel and gasoline crashed near Mill Creek Bridge, which is near Warm Springs. This is coming down off of Mount Hood towards Warm Springs. Tyree Oil is the responsible party. Thankfully, the driver only sustained minor injuries, but over 4,000 gallons of gasoline and diesel were spilled onto Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs land. So I have an intergovernmental memorandum of understanding that we've developed for the response. The spill is located near a canyon where Mill Creek is about 250 feet below the level of the bridge that you see here. And the area has shallow soils with basalt rock. So crews have been having to use hydraulic hammer to remove basalt rock and then excavate the contaminated soil, all in coordination with cultural resource monitoring with the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. So as of Monday, this past Monday the 3rd, over 6,500 tons of contaminated soil has been removed. And a unique part of this response, you might see in the lower right-hand picture, is that a rappel team was needed to access the creek, again, about 250 feet below the level of the bridge. And that was so that they could deploy boom and also take surface water samples. So this is an ongoing response, and our state on-scene coordinator out of our Bend office, Charles Kennedy, he is leading the response for DEQ. So really good work over there. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so here we see a photo of DEQ's emergency response team next to our emergency response trailer that we can mobilize to sites to help us conduct our work and stay connected. And that is all that I have for you today, but I did want to give special thanks to Kimberly Van Patten, DEQ's Senior Emergency Response Coordinator, and Wes Risher, DEQ's Emergency Response Program Manager, for their help putting the slide deck together. So thank you very much. And this concludes Oregon's updates. And happy to answer any questions if I am able to.
Mike, we have a question from Richard Franklin about the cause of the rollover.
It looks like, and I gotta hand it to Wes Risher. He just sent me a message that said, Mike, the cause of the Tyree oil spill was from black ice on the bridge. Hey, thanks, Wes. I really appreciate the assist there. Thanks for the question, Richard.
Look at that teamwork.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And as other folks come in, let's see, I see a question from Heather King. Is there an emergency response plan for the Willamette?
Ooh. I'm going to see if I believe there is, but who has more details on that is probably Wes or Kimberly. And I don't know if one of them can come off mute.
Okay, and I see another question in the chat about tanks at the CEI hub with secondary containment. So if you'd like to answer those verbally or in the Q&A with a typed answer, either one, that'd be great.
Yeah, maybe I'll say just on the our fuel tank seismic stability program continues working. All of the tanks that are over 2 million gallons in the CEI hub are subject to a vulnerability assessment from a Cascadia type event, and then submitting a mitigation plan for how they're going to have that facility survive that without substantial leaks. And so that work all continues. I believe we're just kind of in the early stages of seeing mitigation plans. And I know that they keep the website pretty updated there. And then I don't know if Wes or Kimberly got any answers on the Willamette geographic response plan question.
The development of the Willamette geographic response plans has been prioritized after we get to the Northeast Oregon portion of the state that Mike mentioned, the LeGrand and Umatilla River area of the state. We went through an environmental justice screening process of our GRP alignments in the state to prioritize the work that we need to do. And that portion of the state was prioritized based on that screening process that we did. The next one after the Northeast area would then be coming into the Willamette Valley for the GRP development after that. That's going to be a substantial lift because it's such a large populated area of the state. It's where the bulk of the state population lives. And these terrain alignments go through a good portion of those populated communities. So there's going to be a lot of public outreach and that sort of thing through that process. So it's to be determined, to be done, but it's not the current priority for the program as we laid it out. With regard to the CEI hub and secondary containment, facilities do have secondary containment, but they only really have secondary containment for capacity for their largest tank. Should it fail, if all the tanks fail, we would not have enough capacity to store the lost product. And the work that's been done in the CEI hub in Northwest Portland by an external consulting firm for Multnomah County determined the risk to the Columbia River, the Willamette River, and to Oregon should the tanks fail in that area. would be a release on the order greater than the Deepwater Horizon spill in the Gulf of Mexico. So that's how much product is in that part of the state and is at risk of failure if we don't do the mitigation that needs to happen from this effort. So, and as we all know, once you have a spill, you need to move the product and store it in temporary storage. And we're likely to have none of that temporary storage available after the earthquake because the tanks will be compromised and we're just going to have too much product. So prevention is the best approach for this in the future.
So no idea of barges or anything to bring, there's no way to bring them up to potential storage?
There would be,
But
whether the river, if we needed to bring barge storage or temporary storage that way, it depends on the passability or the navigational capability of the river after the earthquake. We do have barges that are single-walled barges that are been replaced for operation on the Columbia River. They're there as part of that surge storage capability, and it's part of the contingency plans for a number of the facilities that collectively use it. MFSA, or Marine Fire Safety Association, uses that asset as part of their contingency plan coverage. You're probably aware of that now.
Yeah, that's the reason I was thinking, and he started making me think about that. This idea is either that and also possibly, like you said, Wes, I'm seeing what on a Cascadia size event, are the roads passable? You know, if you can get the roads, so you can have tank. You know, it's going to be a lot more vehicles, but you're going to have tankers or even ladders or anything else in order. I'm just trying to think of things that could be used for it, but like on our side as well. But yeah, thank you.
It's going to be a real struggle.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As for both states in a big way.
So prevention, like you said, is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mike, and thanks for those that conversation in the Oregon-Washington room. It's nice to hear thinking on both sides of the Columbia River.